what are they to do with that, or what would be the action?
Yeah, so this is not necessarily going to tell you which ones you need to get rid of. It's just going to give you, this is what it looks like when it's graphed. If you see a dot that you want to get rid of, you're going to want to go and find that data in the list view. So for example, we've got some pretty good clusters down here that have almost no trust flow, but high citation flow. That's probably things like social bookmark links and whatnot. It doesn't necessarily mean you want to get rid of them or that they're bad, but if you have way more of those than you do of your higher ones or your ones that have higher trust flow, it's going to bring your average down. The idea is you want to kind of have a equal flow of all of them, and ideally as many towards like the right end of the graph as possible and as few as possible on the left end, keeping in mind that the number of sites that are able to give you a backlink profile that are going to have 100 are extremely few. So it's not easy to get ones that are up here. It's not even really easy to get ones that are real high on the trust flow, because there's just not that many sites out there, and most of them are not, willy-nilly just handing out links. And so as you look at various sites, you'll see most of them are going to have clusters down here. This just gives you an idea of, are we somewhat, natural? Are we really heavy on one side or really heavy on the other side? More important, in my opinion, than the backlinks, though, is going to be the referring domains one. So if we've got a lot of good domains on the upside of that line, that's probably a good thing. If we have nothing but domains on the bottom side of the line, though, then that's not going to generally lead to easy rankings. If a client's having trouble with rankings, this would be when I'd kind of start looking at these, not so much if, we're just getting started or we haven't done a whole lot of work. From there, though, this link graph, in my opinion, doesn't really tell you a whole lot. It just kind of shows like how the links flow out from your site. It can be kind of cool to look at, but in my opinion, it doesn't really tell you any data. As you can kind of see, it's just a jumble. But then where it gets more useful, in my opinion, is as you kind of start going through these little tools along the top. So referring domains and backlinks, in my opinion, is still being kind of the two big ones. And this is where I would go if you're looking at, okay, we see we've got some really bad ones, or we see we've got some, ones that we want to get rid of. Or if you're doing your initial backlink check to see which ones we want to get rid of, this is where you're going to kind of go. You can always export it all out to a CSV or an Excel file, just like you would in any of the other systems. But now you're just going to have a little bit more ability to sort and figure stuff out in here. So rather than just having an automatic classification of, we think this is bad, we think that's bad, this system makes you somewhat use your brain and just determine it on your own. As you can kind of see, there's nothing here that's saying good link, bad link. We just have scores. So you're going to get your topical trust flow for whatever the type of site is. So if it's a business or a food site, in this case, they're going to pass over business and food as topics, and they have 54. Again, higher scores generally mean a higher quality and are going to give us a better average. If your site is at a 5 and you get links from a 20, it's going to bring your average up. But if your site is at a 40 and you get links from a 20, it's going to bring your average down. So depending on where your site is kind of going to depend on what type of links are going to be more influential or which ones are going to be good for you. Generally speaking, though, anything that's really low or zeros is not going to be great. So we can quickly go in and say, all right, well, we just want to look at links that have a 0 trust flow, because arguably those ones are the ones that are potentially going to be either poor or just not helping us. And then let's say we also want to look at ones with a 0 citation flow. So these ones are giving us a 0 on 2 scores. Doesn't necessarily mean that the domain is bad, because as we can see with this one, Amazon's is giving us a 41 on the domain side and a 40